صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله نعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. صل على محمد وآل محمد. The discussion for the last few nights has been about the topic of taqwa, how we can enhance our taqwa, what are the different ways that we can raise our level of taqwa. We came to the discussion of family values and having a healthy family life, and how that also impacts our level of taqwa. Before I start talking about that, I just want to quickly recap some things that I mentioned on Friday night's speech. That regarding Siyam, we said that Siyam is part of ibadat and not part of mu'amalat. And the difference between mu'amalat and ibadat is that ibadat, they must have an intention in it. So if there is no intention of taqarrub and seeking proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it doesn't count. So that's why we have 5 different types of ahkam, but when it comes to siyam, siyam is only 4. Siyam is wajib, siyam is mustahab, siyam is makruh, or it's haram. There's no mubah siyam, because one of the conditions of fasting is you have to have an intention, and the intention is at-taqarrub ila Allah, al-imtithal bi amrillah. If there's no taqarrub, if there's no intention, then there's no fast. So there's no mubah fast. And we said that also, that when we say that the fast is makruh, it's not disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's aqal thawaban, that the thawab is a little bit less. This is interesting because the difference between mu'amalat and ibadat. Ibadat, we said, they have a niyyah, whereas mu'amalat, they don't have a niyyah. So for example, all of the ibadat which we have, they must have an intention in it. Interesting because our older fuqaha and jurists, when they used to write their books of fiqh, when it came to matters pertaining to nikah and marriage, they used to take this chapter on marriage and used to place it in ibadat. It wasn't in mu'amalat. Whereas mu'amalat are things, for example, transactions. If you go and buy something, you don't need to have a niyyat in there in order for it to be valid. But the older scholars, the early generation of our fuqaha, they used to place marriage in ibadat. They said that if in order for a marriage to be valid, that you must have a niyyah of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, recent scholars, they changed that opinion and they said that no, marriage is in the bab al-nikah is part of mu'amalat. You don't have to have a intention of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's important to notice that our older fuqaha, they had this idea that when we do get married, what our intention should be. It should be seeking nearness and seeking proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our discussion has been about why and how our level of taqwa can change based on how we treat and interact with our family members. We said that because our family members have the most rights upon us and we have to fulfill those rights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges, and our iman and our level of taqwa fluctuates based on how we fulfill those rights. If we fulfill those rights in a complete manner, or if we fall short in those rights that we have to our family members. If we fall short, then our level of taqwa goes up. But if we are better in fulfilling those rights upon us for our family members, then our level of taqwa goes. We said that a healthy family life has many, many different implications. Healthy marriage has many different implications. Some of the implications are both in this dunya, there's implications in it, And of course, in the akhirah, there's implications in it. There's implication in the society that we're a part of. There's an impact in there. There's an implication upon the children who are in that family, the children who are growing up in that family. The marriage between the husband and the wife impacts the children. The way that they're going to behave in the future is directly impacted in how their parents used to interact. Right? That's why there's research that says that those kids whose parents tend to be divorced, then they also tend to be divorced. So there's an ongoing impact. A person's mental health, a person's spiritual health, even their physical health, it's all impacted on how that family life is. Salawatu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. We also read the verse from the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us 3 components for a healthy and a successful marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says every marriage should have 3 things. The first thing that a marriage should have is that it should have sakina inside of it. The second thing that it should have is mawadda, and the third thing that it should have is rahma. We said that sakina is that both the husband and wife, the way that they should look at one another is that they should be a source of tranquility, a source of solace, a source of peace for one another. And both of them work together to provide harmony and peace in the house. And we said mawadda, we said that it is different from mahabba, because mawadda is that love which is there in a person's heart, but it's a love which is demonstrated, which is shown, which is expressed, which is displayed, which is visible. It's not love which is just hidden in your heart, but actually through actions, through words, that love comes out and it manifests itself in certain actions. And the third thing was rahmah, to have mercy, to have affection. Both people, both the husband and the wife, they both try to understand one another. They try to understand their feelings, their emotions, what they're going through. They put themselves in one another's shoes and try to understand the situation that they're in. And so it becomes important that these ideals that the Quran is giving us, that we strive to actively bring these and implement these in our life. Unfortunately, a lot of times people, they say, well, our marriage is running, our family is running, we've been married for so many years, it's okay, we're passing by, it's not a big deal. But the injunctions and the instructions of Islam is for everybody. It's for the young, it's for the old, it's for males, it's for females, it's for all people. And that we have to make an active effort to try to implement those teachings in our life. So if we hear about these principles that the Quran is giving to us, what we should try to do is we should mentally make a commitment to ourselves that we are going to try to fill our marriage with rahmah, with mawadda, with sakina. That we make this commitment that whatever we've learned, we're going to try to implement it. Because we said earlier, the difference between ilm and ma'rifat is that ilm is that we may know something, but ma'rifat is that when that knowledge comes to our heart and it actually leads to action. And the way in order to make ilm into ma'rifat is by actually doing the things that you know, doing the things that you learn. So when we talk about marriage and the principles that the Quran gives us, we have to try to implement that so that becomes in our hearts, that comes in the level of ma'rifat. So make a decision that right now, that wherever you are in your relationship with your spouse, that you're going to make a healthy relationship that's filled with these 3 things. Say it, make a decision, vocalize it, write it down, repeat it to one another, see it every day, read it out loud, whatever you must do, but do it. Make that decision now. There's no point procrastinating. At this moment, this is the best opportunity. Ramadan is the best opportunity to implement those things. Salawatu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad. We can say that there's 3 different types of marriages. The first type of marriage, which is there, is what I'm going to call a failed type of marriage. When 2 people are married to one another, but they have no Islamic principles being applied. They're married because, they've grown with one another. They've been living with one another for so long, and so they became accustomed to one another. And there's no other recourse to life except this. They can't get divorced now, we're stuck with the other person. If we do get divorced, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? There may be kids involved. So in one way or another, they're locked in that relationship, and there's nowhere for them to go. And so they have this type of attitude that, I'll do things for my spouse just to, avoid tension, just to avoid conflict. And this type of attitude, which is there, because they're not putting any effort in it, in the marriage, what does it lead to? It leads to bickering. It leads to being annoyed with one another. It leads to fights and conflicts and these type of things. And what they end up doing is that things are going well, and then if something happens, then things begin to flare up. But they'll stay married because there's no other recourse. There's no other solution. What are they going to do if they get divorced? It's not a good solution for them. So let's just stay married and let's go forward. But it's a marriage which is completely devoid of these three principles of sakina, mawadda, and rahma. It's just a marriage that doing the bare minimum. It's like people who are living in a house like roommates. Perhaps some of you were in college. Roommates, what do? They live their own lives. They do whatever they want. They eat whenever they want. They sleep whenever they want. They do whatever they want. The only thing that they share with their roommates is they share a roof that they sleep under. So this type of marriage is like that, where the only thing that they share is a roof which they sleep under. They do whatever activities they want, and there's no care, there's no love for the other partner which is there. The second type of marriage which is there is what I'm calling a workplace marriage. And this is a type of marriage where the husband and wife, they love one another, but only to a certain extent. And that extent is that as long as the things that I want, my husband does for me or my wife does for me, that there's a certain level of responsibilities which they need to fulfill. As long as they fulfill those responsibilities, they're happy. They want to keep the status quo. The wife cooks, the husband brings groceries, or the husband works and he brings the money. It's like the reason why I call it a workplace, because it's like a workplace. In a workplace, you have a set of duties, you have a set of responsibilities, and each person needs to fulfill those. Everyone acts accordingly to whatever their responsibilities are. However, the problems arise when one person cannot do their responsibilities. If one person gets sick, right? Because the lack of rahmah, the other person cannot put themselves in that person's shoe and begin to understand. They feel as if their rights are being violated. They feel as if the things that they need for marriage are not being fulfilled. So that marriage is not a true Islamic marriage, because they're not able to feel for the other person and try to understand the other person. The third type of marriage is what I'm going to call a real love-based marriage. And this is when the husband and wife, when after they get married, they come and they become one unit. They're so interwoven to one another, they're fused together, so much so that even if they are separate, they're thinking of their partner, they're thinking of their spouse. That what are they doing? What are they feeling? This type of relationship which develops in this manner, like we said Islamically, the way the Quran introduces marriage is two individuals coming together, coalescing and fusing together to make one unit. Not two separate entities, not two individuals, but rather two ruhs and two spirits coming and merging together to make one ruh and to make one nafs and one spirit. And this is the type of relationship where both partners, they look at one another, they remember one another. They constantly concerned about the other partner. Are they going through a difficult time? Are they going through a hard time? What are they feeling? They can just look at them and determine what they're feeling. If the husband or the wife, when they say something, their partner knows what the end of the sentence is. Because they've lived together so long, they know what they're feeling. Because they're one unit. And so they know what their thoughts are, they know what their emotions are, and they work hard to try to keep one another happy, try to keep one another fulfilled. And they become a shelter for one another. They become this place where it's like a safe haven that they can come and they can talk and they can feel relaxed. And this is what we call hubb as-sadiq, the true love, that mawadda which is there, where that they're both thinking of one another. They're always concerned about one another. They're asking, did my partner, did she eat? Did my husband, did he pack his lunch? They're constantly worrying that what is my partner going through? What can I do to serve him? Or what can I do to serve her? What can I do to make his life better? What can I do to make her life better? And so they show their concern, they show their love, and they're constantly expressing this. When they think of their partner, the picture of their partner is in their minds. They're thinking of what they're doing, if they're at home, where they are, whether they're cooking or whether they're resting. The picture of their partner is always in their mind. And perhaps maybe some of you can remember this if you look back into your early years of marriage. When you initially became married, things were like this, where you were very much concerned about your partner, where you had this rahmah and you constantly felt what she's doing or what he's doing. where you constantly felt this desire within you to keep yourself busy with their thoughts. But eventually, at the beginning of marriage, it comes to an end, and we end up descending down from the clouds, and reality hits. And then after we live with it for a period of, if we live with them for a certain period of time, then what happens? Certain weaknesses come out. We find out certain flaws that were there, but they were concealed. That they start coming out. We see one another's mistakes, and so what happens is that this is where the struggle of marriage starts. That before we knew all their flaws and their weaknesses, everything was nice and rosy. But when some of the weaknesses come about, now how do we move forward? Now we see these things. Now this is where the challenge starts. That how, despite their weaknesses and despite their flaws, how can we move forward? How can we have a healthy relationship? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad. And so one of the other reasons why marriage is extremely important is because every human being in their fitrat, in the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him, is that they have a certain need. And this need is that they need to feel as if they are loved. And this sense of being loved is extremely important in every person. But this sense of being loved is of two types. There's one type of being loved or feeling loved when it's instinctual. I'll give you an example. The type of love which is by instinct. So for example, a mother and father, they by instinct, through their nature, they love their child. The child feels as if by instinct, my mother and father, they love me, they'll sacrifice for me. And so that's one part which needs to be fulfilled. And most of the time that is fulfilled by parents. But there's a second type of love which needs to be fulfilled by them. And this is what is called love by choice. That someone is choosing to love me. And this is what marriage does. Marriage provides this opportunity, provides this time, this position where a person feels as if they are being loved by choice, where they're acting in a certain manner, where they have a certain personality, and because of their personality, now they're being felt as if they're loved now. Whereas that love of the mother and the father, that's a natural type of love. But this second type of love is that love which is by choice. And so this is present in every human being. I don't know, you can take, the strongest man, Mr. Macho Man, whoever you want, to, a young child. Every human being needs to get this fulfilled within them. And if someone is saying that, we don't feel as if we want to be loved by other people, it's not true. Because it's part of insan's fitrat. It's part of insan's, that innate disposition which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in every human being to feel loved. Both to feel loved by instinct, by the mother and father, but also to feel loved by choice. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. So what I want to do in this next part is give basically some advice in ways that we can basically try to rekindle this sakina and this rahmah and this mawadda in our marriages. So based on some research that I've done and different ahadith which I've done, what can we do to make our marriages have more of this sakina and mawadda and rahmah? The first thing is that one of the things that the husband and wife that they should try to do is that they should try to have some type of common goals in their life. They should try to achieve something together. They should try to accomplish something together. If there's a certain value that one of them has, another doesn't have, that they try to instill that within themselves. There's an interesting story that's said that there was a woman, and she was a very generous woman. She was a very kind woman. And unfortunately, the husband which she ended up marrying, he was very stingy, bakhil, bakhil jiddan, abkhal an-nas, the most stingy of people. So it said that they were eating food, and when they were eating food, a beggar came and knocked on the door. And this lady went to the door and she saw it was a beggar. So when she saw it was a beggar, what she did was she took some food, she packed it, and she gave it to the beggar. And so the husband saw this and he became angry. He said, "This is my food, I work for this. How dare you go and you give my food to somebody else?" And so eventually they fought and eventually led to a divorce, and that was the end of their relationship. But just like life goes on, life proceeds, this lady, a few years later, she ends up getting married again to another person. And while she's sitting with her husband, somebody comes and knocks on the door again. And so she goes to the door and she sees it's a beggar who's asking for some food. Now she's reluctant. The first marriage collapsed because I gave some food. Now this time, what should I do? Should I give food? Should I not give food? So she just paused for a moment. But because this time her husband was more generous than the first one, he asks her, who's at the door? So she tells him that there's a beggar. So he says, okay, take all the food and give all of the food to him. If we give something to Allah, Allah will give us something better. Don't worry about it. So this woman, she goes and she packs up all the food which is there and she gives it to the beggar. And as she's giving it to the beggar, she looks at the beggar and she shrieks. She screams. She screams and then she closes the door and the husband comes and he asks her, what happened? So she said that, you know who that beggar was? That beggar was the man who I was first initially married to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed his situation. Now he's going around to people's home begging and asking for food. So then the husband smiles at her and he says, you want to know something more shocking? I was that beggar who first came to your house asking you for food. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us a couple. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. This is how things work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in very mysterious ways. We don't know. But the point of this story is that, if one partner has a certain quality, has a certain good quality and good characteristic, try to instill that within yourself. Try to see, because everybody has good qualities and everybody obviously has bad qualities, but try to look at the good qualities that your partner possesses and try to instill that good quality which is there. So if your husband is generous, try to be generous. If your wife is generous, try to be generous. If your husband is patient, try to instill patience within one another. And this is how we can make our marriages more thriving, by trying to bring out the best within one another. The weaknesses, we work on the weaknesses to make them better. Those strengths which are there, we make those strengths become stronger. So have certain goals in your life that you both want to achieve. The second advice which is there in order to make our marriages more strong and to rekindle mawadda and sakina and rahma is that one of the things that we need to get out of doing is we need to get out of routine. One of the things that happens is that we become so repetitive in our lives. We do the same thing every day. Come back from work, take your shoes off, go take a shower, lie down, turn the TV on. Every day it's the same thing. It's repetitive. It's just a regular schedule. We become habituated to do that. We come home, we sit down on the computer, we watch the news. But one of the things that, in order to make that marriage have more mawadda and rahma and sakina, is that don't make today like yesterday. Change things up. Do something different. Don't make this week like last week. Don't make your marriage dull. Make your marriage lively. So just by simple things, like for example, changing things around the house, moving the bed from here to here, moving the dresser here, putting up a different picture. Instead of coming home and doing the same thing, go out for a walk. Huh? Everything okay? I think some of the husbands are getting concerned. Slow down. It's too much. Inshallah. But do something to change things up. Start with small changes. You don't have to drastically, make everything upside down. Small changes, qadam, right? Step by step. Not anything drastic which could actually result in problems. Something small. Do something small. So try a new haircut. Wear new clothes. Wear something different. Don't just wear the same thing over and over again. Go outside for a walk. Go to the beach. MashaAllah, you guys are in California. You have beautiful weather here. Go to the bay. Go, right? You can go. MashaAllah, take your wife. Go enjoy. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. And this is actually based on a hadith by the Imam. This isn't laysa minni ba'd. This is from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, where he says, Al-ada aduwun mutamallik. In Ghurar al-Hikam, there's this hadith narrated by the Imam, where he says al-ada, routine, things that we do repetitively, over and over. What does he call it? Adu. He calls it an enemy, mutamallik, that overcomes and overwhelms your life. Why? Because once you get into a habit, once you get into a routine, your life becomes stagnant, your life becomes motionless, you're not developing, you're not moving. So try to do something where you guys are both doing something new. Go and read a book and discuss it, read an article, talk about it. A lot of times, unfortunately, husband and wife, what they do is they always talk about other people, this happened, that happened, they said this. No, try to have a healthy discussion about some tafsir of the verse of the Quran, or it's any type of book which you've read. Read a good novel, talk about it, discuss it. This is one of the things to break the habits which we have in our life. Salawatullah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third thing is try to encourage one another. Praise one another. Use kind words with one another. Talk highly. If the wife made something delicious, say, mashallah, this food is delicious. Praise it, and embellish it with other things, with more things. Say to your wife that, I'm proud my children have a mother like you. The wives also say that to your husband, that I'm proud that my children have a father like you who can teach them, who can train them. There's a hadith that says, خَيْرُ مَا وَرَّثَ اللَّهُ al-aba al-abna al-adab. That the best thing that the fathers can give their children is adab, is proper Islamic values. So if the father, he should be teaching these things. If he's teaching these things to the children, then the wife, she should praise these type of things. The husband should praise her. I'm happy my kids are growing up in your home. I'm happy my kids are eating your food. I'm happy my children have a kind and compassionate mother like you. And encourage her. Encourage her not only privately, but also in front of other people. I remember once I was at a dinner, and there was this elderly couple. And the husband was praising his wife like this, that my wife, when she first got married, she didn't know how to cook anything. And so out of trial and error, she became such a cook, such an excellent cook, that, I don't want to eat anything else except this food. And this is like, because they were an elderly couple, the husband was saying, there was no YouTube, there was no iPads, none of this. Just through trial and error, she learned how to do this. This is how talented she is. And she did it in a very public manner to everyone who was there on the dinner table. And you could see that, it created this love and that environment of sakina and mawadda and rahmah there. And this is what Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib did, right? When the way he would talk about Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha, salawatullah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he would say, Ni'mal aun ala ta'atillah, that she's my biggest support in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the other things that especially we as husbands that we need to do is that we also need to acknowledge the sacrifices our wives have done. Because in order for a family to function, the wife, she has to put in a lot of sacrifices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her the capacity, but also she had made the decision and she had the strong will to do that, to make the family a successful and a healthy environment. When we were all children, we all had certain dreams and ambitions. And women are also the same thing. When they're young, they wanted to accomplish something, they wanted to be something, but they ended up getting married, they ended up having children. And a lot of times those dreams they cannot achieve in order to fulfill the dreams and ambitions of their own children. So husbands, one of the things that we need to do is we need to acknowledge that the sacrifices she did for the sake of our family. Salawatullah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad. So don't let her, a lot of times, especially as women, they get older, they feel as if they haven't accomplished as much. Husbands, one of the responsibilities is that don't let your wife feel like that, as if she's not accomplished. Reinforce her by saying, look how good you raised our kids, look how pious and how well behaved you raised our kids. Never let her feel as if she's unaccomplished. And if an opportunity comes where she can do something, where she can go and finish her degree or get a master's, or whatever it may be, encourage her, support her, facilitate that from happening. So if she wants to go to a certain class, if she wants to go to arts class or a painting class or whatever, try to step up and allow her to do those type of things. Salawatullah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali. The fourth thing is, when you try to speak to your spouses, try to speak with the tongue of love and respect. Have this dialogue of love. When we go to work, there's a certain manner which we speak at work. When we're with our friends, there's a certain manner that we speak with our friends. Most of the times, we use a very intellectual discussion at workplace. We always list out the pros and the cons. We have a very dry intellectual discussion. However, when it comes to our spouses, when it comes to our family members, the type of dialogue and the tone that we have shouldn't be based purely on intellectual. It shouldn't be bringing proof and bringing researches, trying to disprove one another. This type of dialogue that we're supposed to have with our spouses is a dialogue which is infused with love, with mercy, with affection. If, for example, if she's doing something wrong, don't say, this is the wrong way to do it. Don't you read, don't you find out what is the most efficient way of doing something? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. Say that this is a better way of doing it. Perhaps this will make your life a little bit easier. Don't disparage her. Don't put her down. Don't try to use logic and reason. Try to, instead, that conversation which is there, put in it mahabba, put in it rahmah, put in it sakina. Right? For example, if a husband doesn't put his clothes away, don't go and say to him, you're a slob. Why don't you pick up your clothes and put your things away? Instead, say, my dear husband, I don't know what's said, but my husband, if you leave your dirty clothes there, or if you leave your clothes there, then I don't know which of your clothes are clean and which clothes of yours are dirty. And I always want you to be clean. I don't want you to wear anything dirty. So if you pick up your clothes, then I know which ones are clean and which ones are dirty. So just using that dialogue of love, using that dialogue of affection. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. The fifth thing is, try to designate some time where only the husband and the wife, they spend with one another, without any distractions, without a phone, without a computer, without the TV on. No, a period of time where they can talk to one another, where they can understand one another, where they can listen to one another, where physically they're in the same place. Not only physically, but with your mind, with your thoughts, with your emotions. Not just while eating, not just while sleeping, but allocate a certain time where you spend with her, where you talk with her. And when you do talk with her, look at her. And also the wives should also look at the husband. There's this research by this clinical psychologist, and she was saying that if you want to determine how healthy a marriage is, look at how much the husband and wife look at one another. So the more they look at one another, the healthier the marriage. And the less that they look at one another, the weaker the marriage. So a lot of times couples, they look everywhere else except at one another. No, spend some time looking at one another, talking with one another, spending time with one another. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali. The sixth thing, in order to make our marriage more Islamic, having sakina and mawadda and rahmah, is based off a hadith from the Prophet, where he says, tahadu tahabbu. What does it mean? It means tahadu, give presents to one another, give one another gifts. Tahabbu, and the result of that is what? That there's more mahabba, there's more mawadda in the environment. If you want to increase that love, then give your spouse a gift, give your spouse a present. The more gifts you give, the more compassion, the more that marriage is filled with love and affection. Be a little bit romantic, get some flowers, get a card, anything that she loves, anything that she likes. One of the brothers, he said that, I brought my wife a vacuum cleaner. This isn't a gift to give to your wife. This is something that you want, that you're giving to your wife. What does she want? Give that to her. Don't give her something that you want. I got her a dishwasher. No, that's not a good gift to give her. Give her something that she wants, that she desires. And don't do it on specific occasions, on your anniversary, on her birthday, but be sporadic. On Fridays the day of Eid, bring something for her, bring something for him. When she least expects it, or when he least expects it. Get him a nice shirt, get him a new cologne, some type of fragrance. And so what this does is that it fills that environment of the house with love and affection. It makes our marriage more filled with rahmah and sakina and mawadda. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So over and over, give small gifts. You don't need to go and get a big gift, but something small, but be repetitive with it. Do it over and over again. Don't say, I bought her this house, and so this house should suffice for the next 20 years. No, that's not the right way of doing it. Tahadu, over and over, repeatedly give those gifts. And the last thing, before I conclude, is that try to help one another in that family environment. If the wife is doing something, go and assist her. If the husband, if he's doing something, go and see how I can help him. One of the brothers, he was saying that, my wife, she never asked me to help her in anything. So we were surprised that, how is it that, your wife doesn't ask you to do anything? So he said, what happened? When we first got married, whenever she asked me to do something, I did it in such a bad manner, I did it in such a terrible manner that she never asked me again. And so she doesn't ask me for anything. So she does everything in the house. That's not the right attitude. That's not the right approach that we should be having when we deal with our spouses. And this isn't the life of the Ahlul Bayt. We have many different traditions of how Rasulullah, how he used to deal with Ummul Mu'mineen Khadija, how Imam Ali used to live with Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha. We have this tradition where that's found that says that Kana Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi alayhi yahtatib wa yastaqi wa yaknus. That Imam Ali, what he used to do was he used to bring the wood to the home. Wa yastaqi, he used to bring the water. Wa yaknus, he used to sweep the house. He used to clean the house of Lady Fatima's home. This is Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ya'sub ad-Din, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, somebody the most superior of human beings. When he's in his house, he's like a person, like a servant to his wife, helping her, being a support for her. One time Rasulullah came to the home of Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha, and he saw Imam Ali and Lady Fatima sitting together, and they were cooking something, they were cleaning something. So Rasulullah came and he said, can I help one of you? So which one of you is more tired? So Imam Ali said, Bint Muhammad, she's more tired. Oh Rasulullah, your daughter is more tired. You go help her. And so Imam Ali and the Prophet, they went and they started cleaning the adas, the dal, the lentils. They started separating. They both were active in helping the house. And so we should never think as men, we should never think that we're above these type of things. This is the sunnah of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And when we see the life of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib and Lady Fatima, Imam Ali, he didn't just sit back and just give out commands, do this, do that. No. When he lived with her, he lived a life which was filled with mawadda and sakina and rahmah. It was a marriage which was filled with sacrifice, where it would work for one another. And, we have these traditions where, it's shown in that love which is there, that they have for one another, it's displayed. They used to love one another so much, they used to constantly think of one another. There's these poems which are attributed to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, where he says, وَبِنْتُ مُحَمَّدٍ سَكَنِي وَإِرْسِي, that the daughter of Muhammad, that she's my solace, she's my peace, and she is my bride. مَنُوتٌ لَحْمُهَا بِدَمِي وَلَحْمِي, that fused is her flesh with my blood and my flesh. We talked about in the previous marriage how what the Islamic conception of marriage is not two separate individuals. No, two individuals who come together, who coalesce to form one unit. What is Imam saying? Manutun lahmuha bidami walahmi, that her flesh is mixed with my flesh, with my blood. And when he looks at her as a part of himself. No, he looks at himself as an extension of Fatima salamullahi alayha. He continues, he says, وَسِبْتَ أَحْمَدْ إِبْنَايِ مِنْهَا. Imam's pride in his life is these two gems, these two pearls, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. But he doesn't take credit for them. He doesn't take credit for Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. He says, Minha, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein came from her. She made them who they are. They are from her. He doesn't even consider them his children. He said, these are the children of Fatima. These are the children of Ahmad, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. فَأَيَّكُمْ لَهُ سَحْمٌ كَسَحْمِ. Who among you has a position like I have? Who among you is fortunate to have a wife like I do? Imam, when he looks at his life, he considers whatever he's accomplished and whatever his success as a direct result of Lady Fatima and her sacrifices. And this is how he appreciates it. This is how he shows, this is how he does that mawadda, that love which is expressed, that love which is demonstrated. In another poem which is attributed to him, he says, Habibun laysa ya'diluhu Habib. He says, Lady Fatima, she's a beloved of mine which no other is equal to her in belovedness. وَمَا لِي سَوَاهُ فِي قَلْبِي نَسِيب. She is my beloved, she is my loved one, and no one can take her place in my heart. This was Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. This was his sunnah, this was his practice in how he used to live with his family, in how he used to live with his family. And this is the Imam who we love. This is the Imam who we cherish. This is the Imam who we remember over and over again. These are the teachings which we have to learn from. And these are the teachings that we have to implement in our lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our families. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to infuse within our families love, compassion, affection, sakina, mawadda, rahmah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever wrongs that we've done, that in these nights of Ramadan that He forgives us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the opportunity to get closer to Him. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us as a zawar of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents and grandparents. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to instill within our youth the love and the teachings of Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the dhuhur of our final and our last and awaited Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu sharif. Salatu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Thank you, brother, mashallah, Sayyid Hussain Razavi. And after this, I'm sure that our families are so strong and no one can even, inshallah, imagine the love and passion we demonstrate in our families, inshallah. So, Hajaga, please, by the way, we have a record of your lecture. And the first thing what you have to do is you have to go and you have to, give to your wife and as a gift, and she can listen. It's good, inshallah. Right? Bara Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. What happened is when I go to other places, I also say lots of things. But here when I see, mashallah, my children looking, staring at me, and my wife, I say, okay, I have to be very, it's good, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Jazakallah. Okay, please say the salawats. Alhamdulillah. This is one of the blessings we bestowed to be a Muslim and to be a follower of Ahlul Bayt. Truly, when you go and you read some of the ahadith and riwayat, the extension and also the details which mentioned by noble Prophet of Islam and our Imams about the strong relationship and also all the details of it, you'll amaze that how they able to come up with this complete package. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be, inshallah, among the true followers and believers, inshallah. Please say the salawats. Few ahkam, brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, as we are fasting in the month of Ramadan, I would like to mention about the exemptions of those who should not fast during the month of Ramadan. The first group should not fast during the month of Ramadan. Is not the option, they should not fast, is if someone is sick, to the point that if they fast, their health will be affected, or is I don't want to say life-threatening, is dangerous for his health, to the point that their health will be worse than what it is. Okay. Not that, like, for example, just I have a severe headache, or for example, I feel thirsty, or I will feel weak. That is not a good excuse. Because nowadays, studies, some of the physicians sitting here, studies shows that if you are fasting, the effect of fast will be very much positive in your health. Especially nowadays we are dealing with the obese and those types of things, and we want to, for example, maintain our health and so on and so forth. About SABA food also is a long discussion and debate. We can tell that after fast, once we have a greasy, juicy, mashallah, all of this mashallah, food, and then we go for second, third, and then we gain end of the month. I say, okay, I did not lose any weight. In fact, I gained, like, for example, 5-6 pounds more. That's a different thing. But in general, fasting is good. And we're going to have a good result in our physical aspect to it. But when Islam says that if you're sick, dangerous, or your health will be affected, you should not fast. If you are in that edge, still you want to fast, you're sinning, right? That's one. Second, the one who is traveling, musafir. If you're traveling, you cannot. What is that? Inshallah, I can talk and discuss later on about the traveling and concept of traveling completely. But today, just I want to mention that if you're traveling, you should not fast. If you're fasting, you're sinning. And also you need to make up the same day after month of Ramadan. It's not that optional, right? Third, because of a fast, someone will be affected. Like, for example, a mother who is bearing the baby, a pregnant, or the mother who's nursing the baby. If she fasts, it's not dangerous for her, but it will affect her baby, either nursing or while she's pregnant, because of the result of the fast, she's going to, baby will be affected. So in that case, they should not. The fourth one is because of the age. For example, you reach to certain age, and alhamdulillah, none of us less than 110, so you don't have to worry about that at all. But those who are, mashallah, the age which they cannot, or they have a multiple health problems, for example, diabetes and so on and so forth, and all of that, is not sick, but if they fast, gradually their health will be affected. For these people also, there's exemptions. So four group, because of your age or multiple factor, sickness, travel, or because of fast, someone will be affected. These four people, they should not fast, right? Other than this, every single person has to fast. If I'm not fasting, not because of these four reasons, or just because I was not able to wake up on time, oh, I feel some weak, or I have some interview. If I fast, I'm going to have a bad smell in my mouth when I go there. Or what, all of these reasons, if I don't have these four legitimate reasons, not only I have to make up my fast after month of Ramadan, in fact, I have to give the penalty, citation, kafara. That kafara is so strong. 61 days of fast. Out of 61 days, 60 days of the kafara, and 1 day is makeup of your fast. So out of the 61 days, 31 days without any gap. For example, I fasted 10 days, and then for whatever reason, I break one and I had a gap. Then I have to redo it from the beginning, right? Out of 60 days, 61 days, 31 days should be without any gap. And the rest of that is not a problem. Yes? You should make intention from beginning. The question is, if you fasted 10 days with the intention of kafara, and later on you break that, can you, inshallah, make an intention that those 10 days is my qada? No. You need to make it from the beginning, that intention, right? So make sure that if you don't have any excuse, you need to pay a big penalty. Or if not, you pay a kafara of feeding 60 people and 1 day of your qada fast, right? So inshallah, we're going to conclude that for today. And inshallah, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more about kafara, about fidya, and so on and so forth. So inshallah, we can be on the same page. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawats.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Maulana, for giving us the details that inshallah we remember and recall, and as we go further, we have more questions we can come to you and ask you. And thank you, Sayyid Hussein Razavi, for tonight. As you know, the program starts at 6:30 p.m. with a recitation from the Holy Quran. At 7:30, the lecture begins. At the same time, we have children's program and babysitting. As the program continues on, Salat starts at about, I think it's about 8:28 today. Dinner will be at about 8:45, and dua iftitah or other duas afterwards. We are looking for people to sign up for the programs. There are still open nights available for the month of Ramadan. So please do come step forward. If you can just imagine what the cost may be for each of the people here, the cost for the food, the cost for the electricity, the cost for the utilities, a family of 4, family of 5, definitely the costs add up. So please do come step forward. At the very least, come and help support and cover for yourself, for your family, and inshallah help support and cover for each other. I mean, as I've been saying, we want to help kind of pick up the plates and forks for each other to make sure this place is clean. We want to do the same for financial support. And also, as we've been mentioning, we're looking for people to sign up as members so we can count on that revenue and income, so that way we're not kind of dealing with one-time donations that, alhamdulillah, are very good and helpful, but it's hard to plan. It's hard to project out our budget when we have those types of things. So there will be membership sign-up forms in the back on the sister side, up in the front on the men's side. And also this coming Friday, inshallah, SABA Center has rented out City Beach. As you may recall, last year we had a brother sports night and a sister sports night. Well, this Friday night, at City Beach in Santa Clara, we've rented it out for the brothers. 2 weeks from that Friday will be the sisters' night. We have rented it out then as well. So from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., inshallah, there'll be kind of all night of basketball, indoor soccer, table tennis, pool, lots of games and fun, inshallah. And then people go out for suhoor in the morning afterwards. So please do, inshallah, come and attend. And with that, we'll continue with the program with the loud Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله